Okay, let's get the countdown scene going, get a bit of music on. So hopefully we're live. We're just waiting for the feed to come through. Well, good morning everybody. This is Leaderslive. We're just counting down now. We've got Ray Black in the room today. Can't wait to introduce Ray. Just see Ray in the background there. We're just doing our countdown just to get all the machinery to work together properly. Oh, and the feed's just come up, so that's all good news. So yeah, please say hello to us if you're just dialing in, so I can see people are dialing in now. So that's brilliant, and I hope you enjoy the music. This is a minor blues by my Uncle Peter, and yeah, it's been such a sport to record that for me. So yeah, it's a lovely piece of music. Nice and calming. So I hope you had a good Christmas break and a great New Year break. And we're going to ease you in this morning with starting your working week here on Leaderslive. So it's a nice way to start the new working week. In fact, the new working year. Anyway, here we come. So we just there we go. So. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. I hope we're all right with echoes and everything, and everybody can hear me okay, and the sound's all right. So, oi, people, it's a Tuesday morning, folks, here in the UK. It's just after 8:45 in the morning here in the UK, and we are live. Spreading the love, folks, spreading the love. And as usual, we're streaming out to LinkedIn, we're streaming out to 2 Facebook groups, we're streaming out to Twitter, we're streaming out to LinkedIn. Ta-da! I don't know how it all works, but it kind of fits together somehow. If you're new to Leaderslive, say hello in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. So please don't be shy. Please pop some stuff in the comments field so we can say hello to you. This is an interactive show, so please get involved, join in, ask questions, and network with the community, etc. It's your opportunity to chat with other people online as well. So I'll just turn the volume down on this. I think I can hear something coming through. Yeah, there we go. So it's Happy New Year, folks, and just to celebrate that, have a look at this. Ta-da! I quite like that. So yeah, Happy New Year, folks. It's 2022. So I hope that your year is full of opportunities. A mixed year last year for many people, but hopefully this year will be a fantastic year. I hope you enjoyed the fireworks. That's a gift from Loria Petrucci from Live Streaming Pro. So thank you to Loria. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thumbs up to you. Yeah, thanks, Raj. Good to see you. Happy New Year to you as well. Brilliant. Birdine's monitoring the comments. We'll come on to Birdine in a moment. Let's just move scenes. So yeah, there we are. Let's just get. So we've got this morning's guest kicking us off for 2022. I'm hanging out with a highly experienced 1,000-step sales director, Ray Black, and we're chatting about the art of ethical social selling in a digital era. Ooh. How you doing, Ray?
Yeah, doing good. Indian Dalkeith, just outside Edinburgh.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's great to have you on the show here. I've got to know Ray over the last few weeks, and we've had such a hoot together. So I can't wait for this show. And like Ray, I've been passionate about social selling since about 2015. I started to turn my whole business approach around social selling. So I can't wait to hear what you've got to say, Ray. So I'll come back to you in just a tick, Ray, if that's okay. Just to introduce our moderator this morning. So welcome to Birdine. Birdine's our fabulous moderator. Hi, Birdine. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Birdine does a really important role to keep the chat going, and so she'll be interacting with you behind the scenes. And Birdine will be helping to look after all the comments, engaging with you this morning, as I said, and we'll come back to Birdine from time to time as the comments start to build. So we'll see you a bit later, Birdine. So let me just bring up the scene again. So a quick teaser, folks. We're going to start with the headline, folks. We're going to start with the headline that whatever your business role, you are always selling. And Happy New Year, Andrea says Happy New Year, and Joe Cooper, good morning, Happy New Year. So thanks for that. So, whether you're pitching, your new idea to potential investors, showcasing your latest product to prospects, or delivering a budget or a marketing promotion or a financial plan, or even a strategic step, you are always, always, always selling. And even in everyday business, matters such as, employing staff, negotiating agreements with suppliers, with partners, with vendors, if you're seeking a new director for your business, guess what? Yes, you've guessed it, we're always selling. And yet, folks, so many people potentially see sales as something a bit icky, don't we? That kind of used salesman persona type of thing, used salesperson, should I say. And Ray is also an expert on the notion of social selling, as we said earlier, which is creating, I think, quite a big shift in leading kind of new thoughts around the whole sales process in this new emerging tech economy. And we're going to be talking all about that on Leaderslive today. So together, we're going to explore. Now, this is an interesting one. Why is walking your dog in a new neighbourhood just like selling? I don't know, but Ray will hopefully enlighten us. And everyone has the right to sell, right? But is there such a thing as non-icky selling? And can you sell ethically? I wonder. Ray will again enlighten us on that. And what is social selling? And what does that got to do with social media? We'll be looking at what's the connection between being a subject expert, being a networker, looking at high performance teamwork and social selling. Is there a connection between all of these things? We'll find out today. And why is it important to step back from time to time in the sales process? And finally, is cold calling, is spamming, and always be closing, is that a dead art? So put all that lot together, folks, what do we got? Bibbidi bobbidi boo. That's where we're going today. So if you don't know me, I'm Andrew Jenkins. As I've already said, we love you to interact and engage and chat with us, and especially ask us questions in the comments, and Birdie will pick them up. Don't be shy, folks. Don't be shy. Smash those likes too, folks. Those thumbs up and likes, we really appreciate those. They just keep us motivated, keep us going too. So please subscribe to my newsletter on LinkedIn, and I'll add the link to the comments field if it's not already there. And please let me know if our audio is coming through okay too. So let's get back to Ray. Here we go. Just before we begin, Ray, let's give you a round of applause. Cost me a fortune, that crowd. Feel the love, Ray. Feel the love.
Thanks. Great build up, Andrew. And got to follow that. So very interesting speaking about social selling. And I mean, one thing I've got is years, and I was actually thinking when you said cold calling, I can remember my first ever sale was in 1983, wow. £36 cold calling. So where has the world come from 1983 to where we are today?
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And it's interesting, isn't it? That cold 1983, I was at university then. So yeah. So Ray, as SME owners and entrepreneurs, on this call today, you argue that selling is an everyday essential skill that we must all master. So take it away for us, Ray. Tell us more.
Yeah. I mean, again, I was interested in what you said about everybody's selling, because if you're an entrepreneur, and what we speak about at 1,000 Steps, I'll make it clear, is mainly B2B outbound sales, not inbound through your digital marketing, through your website. This is outbound business development. So now the notion that you can sit behind digital media and not need to sell, we would argue that sooner or later, entrepreneurs, SME owners are going to be in the situation where they need to sell, be it face-to-face, on mail or whatever. And the big problem there is, today, you're right about the icky salesman. People do not like to be sold to.
Yeah.
That's a fact. 85% of people will research on the internet before buying system. So the question is, how do you position yourself at the front of these people's minds when they start to make their buying decision?
Yeah, that positioning is like being on a kind of moving parade, isn't it, Ray, I guess? How do you get in front of the moving parade as it keeps on moving?
Absolutely, because, if you if you think of somebody making a decision to buy, in fact, this might be a good time to show the slide with the triangle.
Yeah, just before we do that, I will do, Ray. You were going to ask a couple of questions of the
Yes, I'm going to
audience.
ask a couple of questions of the audience,
Yeah.
and if Andrew can get them in the feed. Question 1 is, how much time do you spend in a day, approximately, on social media? And what platform do you use predominantly?
Okay, so those are the two questions. I don't know.
Yeah?
Berdin, if you can pop those into the chat so people can see those, that would be brilliant. So how long do we spend on social media each day? Question. And, what platform do you use the most? And I'm thinking, because you're on LinkedIn today, you're all using LinkedIn, but I don't know. We'll find out. So you wanted a graphic up, Ray. Let's have a look. See if is that the one you wanted, the triangle?
Yeah, the top pyramid. Now, I know what I know because I'm working with our CEO, Fraser Morrison, who's actually studied social selling, the whole process for 7 years. And he actually paid to study with a guy called Stephen Schiffman, who's a leading author in the States, and he got mentored over 3 years by this guy. So a lot of what you hear from 1,000 Steps comes from there. Now, the first thing is you have to have a product or service that people want, and that's a different thing from selling. So let's assume you've got a product that people want. So who do you sell to? So there's a pyramid there, and it starts with, and these statistics stand up across the board.
Okay.
You can see there's 3% active buyers. That is the people who are out to tender who are looking for something.
Okay.
At the bottom, there's 30% of people who are not interested in your company for various reasons. And there's another 30% who do not have a need.
Okay.
So what does that leave? That leaves 7% who have a need to act. Now, they have a need to act. They may need website redesigned. They may need new equipment, software equipment to update. Yeah. And then you have another 30% who have a need and they're not ready to act. They may not know that they need a product. That is the 37% where you can make an impact. Because if somebody asks you to tender for a product, it's highly unlikely you will get it because somebody else is driving that tender.
Yeah.
So we speak about, with that middle two brackets, if you can engage with these people and over time let them know your capability, your reputation, and your reliability. Over a period, you build trust with these people. You will be seen as a thought leader and a subject expert, depending on how you engage with these people. But it's dependent on how you engage, because if you engage by typical means like automated messages, spamming, transactional, the biggest problem I made before I learned from Fraser was trying to sell too early, becoming transactional and needy and salesy far too early in the process.
Yeah, the need to sell, right? And the urgency. What you're saying is actually it's a nurturing process to build trust. And it's a sort of a process of convincing over time, Ray. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. It's convincing over time, because and there's two different kinds of. Let me just explain. We're going to talk about social media, but in 1,000 Steps, we look at lead generation as a whole subject, and social media is part of that, and then running meetings. So yeah, you have to build up that reputation. They need to know your capability through testimonials or whatever, or referrals. But then when you get into the selling position with these people, you cannot try to build all that up in your first meeting. I mean, you won't get sales without a first meeting, but if you go into a first meeting with very little reputation, it's highly unlikely you might make a sale, and you may have a product that requires more than one meeting. You require intro, discovery, proposal through a process.
Okay, now we're going to come on to process later, but that's interesting. So there's more of a process to it. And what we're aiming at is 37% of people were looking for a product or may not know they need one, but actually over time they can be nurtured into thinking, actually, I do need that.
Yes. Yeah. You
Brilliant.
can help them, you can improve their business with your product.
Okay, now we'll come on to comments in a moment, but that's interesting. And how many touch points are we talking about, Ray? Typically.
Well, touch points. First of all, if you connect with somebody, that's a touch point.
Yeah.
If you meet somebody at networking, that's a touch point.
Yeah.
If you get a referral, that's a touch point. If you like somebody's post, that's a touch point. If somebody likes your post, that's a touch point. If somebody comes to a webinar or a broadcast, there are if they engage with a video. So there are multiple touch points. And again, one of the great things on going in these courses, we meet loads of people who are expert on the courses. And Fraser's wife is the head of learning at Singapore University, and she said students learn more from other students than they do from the lecturer. Now, one guy in our training said, if you have 50 dream customers and you have one touch point a month over 12 months, and you're putting out good content, thought leadership, non-salesy, subject expert, advisory, over 12 months, over 60% of them will see you as a subject expert and thought leader, and you will be doing business with some of them.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. We'll come back onto that in a moment. So Birdie just asked the question of the audience, do you have a process that you follow when doing sales, and is it working for you? We're going to come on to process in a moment, but let's just jump to Birdie for a moment, just see what's going on in the chat. So hi, Birdie. What's going on in the chat, Birdie?
Okay, so Andrew, Brian just said good morning from Andrew in Bury St. Edmunds.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Andrew. And then Joe responded to the questions that you had raised. So she said work life, I'd say 4 hours-ish on LinkedIn and personal mix of Instagram and Facebook, probably a couple of hours. Andrea Hall said, agree, Ray, get to know your customer first, what they do, what they need, and what they want to achieve. And then after the process question, Andrew said he uses YouTube. I have used Facebook before, but his account got hacked.
Oh dear. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we live in that world where things get hacked all the time.
I have to say, I'm not an expert in Facebook. I've used it before. I'm not an expert on Instagram. LinkedIn is seen as the business tool worldwide. There are now 880 million users worldwide.
Yeah, just bring up this 880 worldwide. Wow. So this is now
740, but that's out of date.
Wow.
And I can't quite read, but I think it's 150 million in Europe.
Yeah.
Funny enough, there's pockets of the world that don't operate, but the amazing thing about LinkedIn, and I was very fortunate, everybody can remember March 2019. Why was that special?
March 2019. Ooh. Why was that special? Well, it wasn't. Was it Brexit at that point? I can't remember.
First lockdown.
Was that March 2020 though, Ray?
2019.
Right. Okay.
Am I right?
I think you're a year out, but wherever. Yeah, I can remember that. Yeah, that first.
Oh, sorry, March 2020. My apologies. Yes.
Yeah. Just testing, Ray. Just testing.
Yeah. Listen. So March 2020. Can you remember what happened?
Yeah.
People transitioned to home working.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a friend in Standard Life. They put 4,500 people from office to home working over a weekend with technology.
Yeah. Incredible,
CEOs,
wasn't it?
people started going to home. I was very fortunate because before lockdown, I was doing everything wrong on LinkedIn. I was sending huge transactional messages, getting ignored. I went on a free course with Fraser, 2 hours, and 2 hours later I was selling completely differently. Now, all of a sudden, March 2020, my apologies, trick question. You had CEOs, you had sales managers, you had business owners who were working at home. And what did they do at lunchtime or when they finished work? They actually went onto LinkedIn, and people's activity on LinkedIn became far more prevalent, and all of the habits that we see now in LinkedIn, I think, have developed. And on the news today, business, if you're trying to meet people through business, you're not going to be able to phone switchboards. You're going to struggle for face-to-face meetings. You're going to struggle to get emails. So LinkedIn, used ethically and properly, is a tool where you can expand your network along with other methods.
Yeah, and the whole thing about Zoom has made things so much easier to have those intro calls as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so just hooking back onto the comments just so that we can catch up with you, Ray. Birdie, what's going on in the comments? I think Joe's and Andrew have commented a bit, I think, have they?
Yes. Joe said, I usually connect, chat, research, and discuss.
Nice.
The only stumbling point is the powers that be in a company requiring the quick hit. So that's based on the process question. And then Joe just reiterated that the pandemic started. Andrew said, I only use LinkedIn now and it has served me well.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I use LinkedIn a lot, I have to say. And, you talked about being a subject expert, Ray. Thanks, Berdine. You talked about being a subject expert and a thought leader. Is that the kind of, are we talking about the social selling concept there? Let's.
I think it might be time to talk about walking the dog.
Let's talk about walking the dog. So what has walking the dog in a new neighbourhood got to do with sales, Ray?
Yeah. And again, we learned this from one of our contacts. And I'm only going to speak about LinkedIn. I'm not an expert on Facebook, but on LinkedIn, you can connect with anybody in the world. If you use Navigator, you can make it more sophisticated. And I'm going to come back to the comment about bosses wanting numbers quickly.
Yeah.
There's an element of
Joe's comment, yeah.
Yeah, and Joe will think about this when I say it. So you can connect with anybody on LinkedIn. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't like when automated messages ping up on my machine.
Yeah.
I don't actually read them. And I don't know that many people do. But think of LinkedIn in this way. Think if you've moved to a new home and you take your dog out for a walk on the first day on the street.
Right.
And you see, think of LinkedIn in this terms.
Yeah.
You see somebody else on the other side of the street walking a dog, i.e. connection. What will you not do? You won't shout, hi, I've just moved here. I'm out walking my dog. I see you're walking the dog. It'd be great to have a coffee and chat sometime. You can get any time. You won't. What happens is you'll do nothing for 3 or 4 days. You'll nod head at the end of the first week or the second week. You'll say hello. You might have a conversation week 3. You might have a conversation. You might even go for a coffee week 4.
Yeah.
That will develop over number. Think of LinkedIn on that basis. So think of getting to know somebody on LinkedIn, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people. And people, although we've got processes, sooner or later you're going to deal with a person, and you need to know how things happen with that person. Now, going back to the bosses who are screaming for numbers, if they don't have a process sorted out that's going to generate leads effectively, then connecting 100 people and sending a message, I don't know the hit rate doing that, but I don't think it's going to be very high. If you have a process where you are nurturing your contacts and building your positioning with them and actually influencing them to make the decision to change their business, to adopt your product, that is how that's how we would say develop business, because every sales needs a process, and I'll give you the justification for that. Sales is about inputs and outputs. If you need to make 100 contacts to make 5 sales, if you've got to either refine that, but you have got to continually have these inputs and outputs in your process. If you don't network for a week, you'll have a drop off, your pipeline will fail. So, and question, how many people study their metrics? How many people study how many connections they made, how how many meetings they had, how many conversations they had, how many first meetings, discovery meetings. Unless you study your metrics of where your business is coming from and define your metrics, then you won't have a robust process. So in question to the boss shouting for numbers, unless there's a process there, if you're being cast blind out into the market, you're going to be with the masses. You have to have a process and a methodology that stands out.
Yeah, I like that, the process, and we'll dig into that a little bit more about what is behind that process just in a moment, Ray. But just thinking about that process, and the screaming for numbers, as Joe has said, there's a bit of patience involved with this, isn't it? You have to grow this organically. It doesn't. You can't force feed it, and it's important we don't kill the golden goose either. This
Absolutely.
needs developing over time and nurturing, as we've said earlier. It's about reputation. It's about building reliability, building trust, so that you can see that presumably in the process. You can see where people are moving through that process. Then, Ray, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, we've had. We've been training entrepreneurs and SMEs in this, and what we say is, do what we ask for 8 weeks and then make it your own. Don't try and change it, because a process is a process. It's not human. It becomes human when you customize it.
Yeah.
But proof of the pudding, we have an associate who's joined us, a girl, Mara, who's Jordanian. She's moved to England. Her husband's a doctor. She'd worked in sales in Jordan, but she was very shy, very intimate. So in 2 months, we took her through the process, and she has developed her first consultation opportunity. Now, we've got affordable courses, then we do consultation. We do consultation with people like PwC, the Australian government, 6-figure numbers, but our courses are, they're not expensive. But in 8 weeks, we've taken Mara to the point that she can network properly, record it, put out posts, and she's now generating her first meetings because...
Brilliant. She's got a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because without first meetings, you will not get any new sales. And when you have that first meeting, you need to make it count. That's moved on a bit. That is the result of social selling, networking, referrals, and there might be room for cold calling, but you need to maximize these 4 revenue streams for outbound business development.
Right, I'm with you. And in terms of what's behind that process, Ray, is there some sort of database, or how do you how do you do that?
It's actually that's where you start to get quite not complex, but there's more work to it. Now, if you can put the slide up, I'm not going to go through it in detail.
This one here, Ray.
Yeah, it's part of our courses. Now, the source, you look at lead generation, you look at the source, you've got LinkedIn, blah, 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 you've got your connections, and you've got your database. Now, let's take database. So if you ask anybody, where are your contacts? You tell me, Andrew, where are your contacts?
Well, I've got a lot of contacts on LinkedIn for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
WhatsApp?
WhatsApp. Yeah, all over the place actually. But essentially, LinkedIn is probably my main tool. But Facebook as well, a bit on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And business cards in the drawer?
Used to. I don't tend to use those at all anymore, funnily enough.
So here's an exercise.
Yeah.
Think of if you got all of your contacts from LinkedIn, from email, from your phone.
Yeah, email, true.
Digitally, from into one format, and now this is a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday boring job. It takes quite a few hours, and you get them onto an Excel sheet and tick everybody you know well. Find in there who are your centres of influence.
Yeah.
Within your database, a centre of influence is somebody you can go to who you'll have known in your career, who you can ask confidently for referrals or for advice or whatever. So you have to sort out your database and then maintain that database.
So you can start with a spreadsheet, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You don't
get
necessarily need a CRM. Ultimately, get it into CRM. So you've got the source of your data, and that's through LinkedIn, through webinars or whatever. Then you have lead activation. How do you activate your leads in meetings? That's through networking, etc. How do you categorize them? And then it's onto the nurturing that we spoke about. Now it has LinkedIn, email, can't quite read, content, webinars, messaging, invites, and sharing. So a lot of people, and it was Joe who said our boss was looking for numbers. I've been in companies where they say, right, we want 1,000 names in CRM and we want a potential value against them. There is absolutely no point in putting a value against a client unless you have had a meaningful engagement. And that's what nurturing is about. Nurturing is about the first point of contact, taking that through to a meaningful engagement. And that's something like a webinar, that's like a meeting,
conversation,
or your meeting, and that whole nurturing process needs to be done before you can call anybody a potential and put a value against anybody.
Yeah. So just to have that initial conversation. And I'm just wondering about our audience here. So, Andrew and David and Joe, etc., are online, and all the others here. What do you use for your lead generation process? Do you use a CRM system? Do you use a spreadsheet? How do you do that? Because I think that's really important. What you're saying ultimately, a CRM system is really useful to have that in the background, and there may be good CRMs and bad CRMs. I don't know, Ray. Is that something you can advise us on?
The CRMs are all different.
Yeah.
We have one that's called 920. It was a sales box, but different things for different means. If you take HubSpot, it's a great basic system, but then you go to add extras, so it costs money. I think I can advise separately on some systems, but you need to look at the market and see what's there. But ultimately, CRM captures what you've done. It's what you do that matters more around that.
So it's actually taking an active lead in terms of having those kind of conversations is the first thing.
Yes. Getting to a meaningful engagement at the point where somebody recognises you as worth speaking to as a potential supplier.
Yeah. Okay. And so I'm just trying to make some linkages here. So we talked about the CRM, we've talked about social selling, and this whole thing about social media. How does join up those dots for us for a little while?
Okay. Well, it's quite interesting because I work on LinkedIn predominantly, but I have a colleague who is in content marketing, and she's spoken about outbound organic marketing, and that there are different methods and different experts. I wouldn't propose to be an expert, but Bronwyn, for instance, she goes on to chat groups and she does content marketing, and she's developed a positioning for herself with some of the top augmented reality companies in the country, in the world, through going on to chat groups and chatting as a subject expert. So there's a means where you can develop leads through being a subject expert in a chat group. But that's really difficult to do. There's not many people can do that. We're amazed at what she does because everything we do is through the nurturing process. Facebook, you can advertise on Facebook. I don't know, we're going to maybe look at that, but we have focused on LinkedIn, and we're a sales company, so we know what we've got with LinkedIn, so that's what we're focused on. But we're looking at content marketing, which is more about inbound, but this outbound organic, go and have conversations with people, join groups, be seen as an expert in your subject.
So just clear something up for us, just in case people are thinking, what's the difference between outbound and inbound? I guess it's obvious, but it might not be for some people.
Well, it's not obvious because I didn't really know it until I was told.
Brilliant.
Inbound marketing is if you have a website and you get leads on the website, or if you do mail shots and whatever. So that's inbound marketing, whereby you're creating. Now, to me, if you're a Microsoft or an Apple or whatever, your marketing is completely different from whether you're an SME. Yeah. If you're an SME, yes, you can have a website, but you're one amongst millions with a website. Outbound a account business development is where you are targeting specific markets and sectors yourself. You're creating the activity. So it's outbound lead generation. So you are actually creating the activity through your means. And that's where outbound organic marketing, that's where Bronwyn is actually in chat groups, having messages outbound and getting into conversation. So you think of things coming through the internet, leads coming through, or people responding to a blog or whatever, that's inbound. That's through the internet or through advertising or whatever. Outbound is what you create yourself, specifically targeted accounts and sectors.
Okay, so when I first started thinking about social selling, becoming that social expert or that business expert I started to blog write, Ray. Is that an inbound or an outbound?
Blog writing, trick question for me. I would have to, can I phone a friend? I would say, Andrew, that's inbound because you're writing a blog.
Yeah.
That blog is connected through to your website, so you're bringing traffic to your website.
Okay.
So that's inbound. Outbound is where you're reaching out to individual companies. But a blog, I would say, is inbound because it's coming in from the internet to your website as a blog.
Okay, and I found that a really useful way of starting out. And this takes time to gain traction because you need to gain a following, and it has to build organically. But little by little, those blogs started to to get traction because people were interested in it and interacted with the content before any business discussion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that is a great. That these methods do generate business. I'm not an expert. In fact, I'm going to start writing my first blogs this year.
Yeah,
I've never written them before, but I believe if you're doing anything, do it to the best you can. Quite Remember, right. You only get one chance to make a first impression, but don't be hesitant. Just make sure, test the quality. Don't be salesy. Be informative. Make it interesting for people. I would think would be the message.
Yeah. So not an overt sales message, but something that is useful as content for other people to kind of useful content, valuable content. You're creating value through content, right? And that's what content creation is all about. And this is really the new way of. This is about social selling. This is exactly what it is, right? Right?
Yeah. And if nobody knows how LinkedIn works, but if you start to put posts out, people will be attracted, and I've got to get back into routine. People give a lot of advice on what you do. I would say 2 informative, authoritative posts a week and maybe 1 feel-good post is how I try to structure, and I need to get back into that structure. Yeah. It's too easy to get out of it.
Yeah, there's a few comments coming now on the comments thing.
Comments.
Let's Birdin, how are we doing on the comments? What's going on? You're on mute, Birdine. There you go.
Sorry. Joe said, thank you, that's spot on. And then David just said, thanks for the session today. So I think he probably had to pop out there. Then I asked the question, which area in the lead gen process do you find is a headache or a challenge? And Joe came back and said, definitely the nurture process.
Yeah.
And then she also said she uses Google as a CRM, spreadsheets for instant visuals and notes, which I think we all do if you quickly want to add something in to a spreadsheet, just to quickly get back to that.
I think picking up on the nurturing, I'll tell you a true story about nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking to an ex-accountant, CFO, who was in a market where his target market were CFOs, chief financial officers. Okay, and I was talking to him because the one thing I didn't say about selling, we don't teach closing skills, we don't train, we believe in ethical sales. If you structure your discussions properly, customers will realize if you are suitable for them. But I was talking to this particular gentleman about LinkedIn, and he said, I've done LinkedIn training. I went, okay. I said, can you tell me what your methodology was? And he said, well, I've got 50 contacts I've connected with. and I've got 7 messages.
Yeah.
I send the first message day 1. If I don't get an answer, I send this message day 3, day 5, day 7, whatever. And I said, well, have you had any responses? He said, no, not yet.
So it's not working, right?
Yeah, well, I said, I'm getting those same messages from other people, so it must be a training. I said, let's try an experiment, and this goes to nurturing. I said, pick any one of your CFOs. So he picked one, and I said, okay, there's CFO. He hasn't responded to any messages. Let's look at the last thing he posted. This CFO had just posted, I'm delighted to announce the £30 million acquisition of such and such company who will help us by doing such and such, etc., etc. Beautiful post. So I said to my contact, okay, put yourself in his shoes. He has just made a £30 million acquisition as the chief financial officer, and he's written a post about it.
Yeah, brilliant.
He's got an inbox full of messages, the same as yours. Where's his mind? I said, so all you need to do is go to that post, read it, and make a genuine, honest, non-salesy, non-transactional comment against his post. You can virtually guarantee he will like it. He will look at your profile. He will possibly even message you. Then step back. That is your first point.
Step back in the sales process, right?
Yeah. So we actually are no longer messaging people. So we are a lot of the time just stepping back, look at what people are doing before you try to engage with them. And there's many ways you can look at their website, you can look at the posts, etc. So very subtle, but then very subtle in becoming, raising people's awareness of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about our relationship as well with that, Ray. So, I think you came on a Leaderslive, you must have seen it somewhere. So you came in the background, and then a little later you then tagged me on something that I'd posted. So, and then we started a LinkedIn conversation.
Yeah, and we've developed a brilliant relationship. Who knows if we'll do business? But do you know what? We've got the basis of a relationship there.
Correct.
And that's a lot of what networking is about. Knowing people, getting referrals, getting people who know you, but also being trusted as somebody who's there to help as much, to give as much as they're going to take. And I love giving referrals. I love trying to help people in business.
Just being a human being is the easiest way to think about. Just be human, right? That's really interesting. Just coming back to the comments very briefly. Berdine, what's going on?
Okay, so I've also asked, how often do you make use of content marketing, or is it still a gray area in your business, and are you still trying to find the sweet spot? Andrew Bryan said, here in Bury St. Edmunds, I am forever talking to people, finding out what is happening in the world of business and what is going on within the town. He also said that he has never done a blog at all, but maybe this is something he should pursue in 2022.
Join Ray.
Blog.
You can write one together. There you go. and genuinely, use each other. Help each other. Andrew, you've got a contact there with Ray, and just help each other, support each other to write that first blog. It's like swallow that frog, isn't it? Get the first one out of the way, and the next one will be easier.
The great thing about the internet, there's loads of free advice about writing a blog, about what you should do. And as long as you sort of follow guidelines, don't do anything controversial, just do it and see what happens. Just build up your expertise. It's the same about posting on LinkedIn. Just don't be offensive, try and be authoritative, and just post and see and don't get obsessed by numbers of likes, numbers of views, because what matters is who's viewing it. I would rather have 10 people who I'm really interested viewing it than 25,000 views and nobody interested. It's who's viewing it. And people actually don't necessarily need to like your post to be engaged with it.
That's true. Yeah, you just don't know who's seeing it. I always find that people say, "Oh, I've been watching your Leaders Live." I said, well, you've never interacted with me. I said, "Well, I still watch them." So you just don't know, do you? That's the thing, and that's the beauty of some people are quite silent and just observe, and others interact, and that's the world of being human, right? Some people interact and some people observe, and that's fine. Joe said, I put a mix of random posts on LinkedIn I'll just pop this up, see if I can bring this up. There we go. I put a mix of random posts on LinkedIn with a side order of business posts. Nice. Okay. Yep. And I think this is one that Birdie read out. Never done a blog at all. Maybe it's something else to do. Right, Andrew, get right in and get it sorted out. There you go. There's your first action of the year.
The key thing as a blog, Andrew, is you've got to tie it back to your website so that you get the traffic. Is that right?
Yeah, I do mine through my website so that it comes through my website, but you can use LinkedIn as well. I find I get better traction by writing it and then posting it, but you've got to store it somewhere, and I put it on my website. But if you haven't got a website, you could just use the LinkedIn process, and that's at least that's something, getting the message out. I do find better traction though by writing my own, put it on my website, and then joining the link into LinkedIn. It seems to do better. So that's just a thought. Listen, we could talk for ages here, but I just wanted to ask you, what about that thing about cold calling you mentioned and spamming? And, is always be closing dead, Ray? Take it away for us.
Yeah, well, something that I heard early on from Fraser was ethical selling. What is ethical selling?
What is ethical selling?
Yeah. Now, ethical is human. It's paying respect to individuals. It's not annoying them, and it's being patient with them, and it's delivering value. So loads of spam messages, automated messages, because people can tell when something's cut and paste.
Yeah.
So my message would be ethical and also have a process. You must have a process, but then there's a point where you need to become a human being. And this is one thing I was told very early in sales: be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself in your posts and whatever. Be human, and if you keep doing the good things well, things will happen. But
I
you
really
do
like
have
that.
a process.
Yeah.
Keep doing the good things right and well, and you'll get there.
If you do the good things well, you will get that. I totally agree with that. My blog writing experience would be exactly the same. Keep doing it. Do it consistently, folks, not just once in a while. You need to be consistent. I like that. Your hints and tips really is, be human, have a process, add value, have patience, and build organically, I think is what you suggested there. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay.
But also keep up the activity levels.
Yeah.
You must keep up the activity, because as soon as you stop the inputs, you will have a gap in your outputs.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Andrew has responded to our challenge this morning and said, I will indeed make a start. Thank you. There you go. Well done, Andrew. So useful for you to be on this call. Fantastic. So look, folks, we could talk forever, Ray, but I hope you found this useful and has given you food for thought, everybody listening and watching. And by the way, Ray's freebie giveaway offer is for every Leaders Live guest that's attended today. You get access to the 1,000 steps very first inaugural LinkedIn optimization session free of charge. How about that? It's a 3-hour enterprise level training. Let me just bring up the graphic for that. It's a 3 hours enterprise level training free of charge with Ray's CEO, Fraser Morrison, who's mentioned this morning. That's on Tuesday, the 18th of January from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock UK time. Now, that's the same time as Leaders Live, folks, but the great thing is, if you register, you can also get the replay, says Ray. So, you can register, get the replay. So that means you can do both Leaders Live, and you can then go back and watch the LinkedIn optimization, or the other way around, for example. So thank you, Ray. That's brilliant as a freebie. So please
add to that, Andrew. Everybody's at different stages on LinkedIn. This gets everybody to a fairly professional level and fills in the gaps for a lot of people.
This bit here that it's no, not that bit. This bit here, you're talking about this element down here as well.
In terms of the lead generation is the process after, but we can fill the gaps for people, and you can learn from each other.
Brilliant. There you go, folks. So let me just, we're going to wrap up now, but before I go on to what's next week, folks, a quick word on, what's my purpose and my why with Leaderslive. And it all starts with the idea and the passion that you are more than you think. And so Leaderslive is my it's freely available. It's about edutaining, it's an expression of this you are more than you think. And anyone can join in, and enjoy taking part in extraordinary conversations. And the maxim of this is I to the power of we, where we all join in, we all interact, just like we've done this morning with the comments, etc. So if you find this interesting, then my other commercial offerings that I can help you with are, you can book me for inspiring keynote speaking at company events. I talk about growth mindset. I talk about high performance teamwork. I talk about business change. My company PDX boosts your business success through developing high performance teamwork and leadership programs. And you can also hire me as an experienced executive coach. I'm fully qualified in that matter. And lastly, I co-run a subscription-based community called Inspired CEOs. So if you are an SME CEO, I invite you to that experience and come along and see how we collaborate to play a bigger game in our business lives. So you can contact me directly for information on any of those things, and links will be available shortly. So my next Leaders Live, folks, will be next Tuesday, 11th of January at the usual time of 8:45 UK time. I'll be hanging out with Zoe Griffiths. And Zoe is the CEO and founder of Alchemy of Learning International, and she's also a former international athlete, having represented Wales in netball. Fantastic. So really looking forward to that. And our topic of discussion will be the alchemy of well-being for CEOs as a foundation for business empowerment. Now, this has been an important theme that we've picked up a few times over the last few months, and we've been exploring well-being and mental health and things like that. These are really important perspectives for business today, so it's very topical, particularly at this time of year as well. So looking forward to that and chatting with Zoe for an interesting and useful conversation that will benefit you too. So that's it, folks. Be there or be square on the 11th, and in the meantime, from Ray, Berdine and myself, let's just bring up the moderator scene. Look, we wish you all a great week ahead of you. It's the first working week for the UK, so back to work today. So it's a good bye from me, and it's a good day from Ray, and it's bye from Berdine. So thank you very much. See you all again next week. Thank you very much. Cheers for now.